Hello, Dylan.
Hello, welcome
How are
to
you?
Katie Ratio.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. How about you,
I'm
Billy?
doing fantastic, baby. We
Fantastic.
got some good stuff to talk about
We
today.
do. But as our viewers notice, there's an empty chair over there.
I almost forgot.
Kyle passed away.
No,
Uh,
that joke's
no.
in bad taste.
Yeah, that's
this
not.
week.
He did not. Oh
Yeah.
no, he just.
Regardless.
Yeah, he's not here tonight.
He's not here tonight, but we are. We're holding down the fort. It's good to see you, buddy. We've got some stuff that we wanted to go through. I guess you said we'll go through my topic first.
Yeah, let's start off with that.
So I wanted to talk about tonight, as is in the title. You want to do an audio check while I'm doing this? That is based around resource and mana management, energy management in games, and I feel like this is such a core part of games that I enjoy.
Hold on, Kyle's here in spirit.
Oh, he is.
He is. He's in the comment section.
Oh, you're in here in spirit. You're in our hearts. Good to see you, Kyle. Listen up, because we got a good one for you.
Are you gonna host from the comment section?
Yeah, you just see him type, hello and welcome to the
We'll
Katie
wait for your
Ratio."
response.
Yeah, there's just a slight lag.
You're like,
back and
what do you
forth.
think, Kyle?
Yeah. Dead air. Until
Yeah.
He's able to type it out. No, so our one of our main topics tonight is resource management, energy, mana, whatever you want to call it, spirit. It's called a variety of things in different games.
Cooldown.
Cooldowns, how that's used in games, and what I prefer. I kind of did the good, the bad, the ugly, or good, neutral, bad implementations of this, and I kind of wanted to go through a case study, basically, of what I enjoy in these games and why I think it's important to nail this part of game design, because I think a lot of times, like, I play games to enjoy the gameplay. Like, that is the most core fundamental thing in a game when I play it, for me. And I've seen a lot of, like, every game has their own take and spin on resource management. And so I'll start with the bad implementations of resource management, because I think it'll spin easier into, like, what I think is great if I start from the bottom. Now
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
And we just got the copyright strike. No. Okay, so bad implementations of, like, mana or energy management would be Diablo 4, and I gave another example as well, Guild Wars 2. But I'll use Diablo 4 as, like, the core idea, because it's topical right now, and a lot of people have played that, certainly more than Guild Wars 2. But D4 is entirely built around a system. At launch, it was entirely built around vulnerability. It still is today because of how that game scales. But it's also built around crit chance, lucky chance, and then there's also specific aspects that you can unlock and find in the game that basically allow you to have infinite mana or resource generation. And when that is how the game is designed, right? So we look at, like, critical strike chance, or crit damage is really the thing to talk about here. Is when you have this path of, okay, vulnerable damage, it was something like 5 or 20 times more powerful when you would do vulnerable damage than if you were just doing base damage. If you were doing, like, vulnerable crit, and because they were multiplicative of each other. And so what happens is, no matter what build that you design in the game, you have to optimize for that first. And then you can have your own little spin-offs. Guild Wars 2 is a fantastic example of this as well. The entire game, like, every single class is built around, except unless you're, like, a true support class, that's not really how that game operates, but let's say you are. You have to get to 100% crit chance, just so you're always critting, because it more than doubles your damage output. So every build has to go through that to be even remotely viable, on scale with everything else. And what happens is there's only so many gear types that provide those stats that allow you to chase that and get into that. And so what happens is the game goes from this, oh, hey, we've got the world to offer, there's all these cool different types, to this. And getting back to like D4's example, basically every single build is either built around not using any resource whatsoever, which is like your arc lash sork,
Yeah.
and or you are entirely geared around having infinite resource spam or mana management. And what happens is, again, right there, it takes all the possibilities and stuff creative
All the
that you can do
freedom of play.
and build design and everything, and takes it into this because it's like, hey, these are so overpowered. When you're talking about like a 20x damage multiplier of like vulnerable damage, you have to build into that to be able to achieve that.
Well, and then I would even add that goes further with at least Diablo 4. I don't know about Guild Wars, but the game is designed to where if you aren't in those, you're gonna have bad time.
Yeah.
It's not fun. So it's not like it's because it's OP as fuck. It's like, no, if you want to enjoy and play and like actually beat the end game content, you have to be that.
You have to be that.
You have to.
You're the pinnacle content that you want to try and play. You have to have those focus bills. And I can get it if like I understand if it's maybe like Lilith where it's expected to be excruciatingly difficult.
Yeah.
But if you can only achieve it with one type of build, otherwise you're fighting a boss for 45 minutes, slapping it around. That's not fun for anybody.
No, that's
Make the encounter hard, make it difficult. And we could talk about Path of Exile 2 later on and what I'm excited about with that game, but make the encounters more difficult to where I have to manage my character more, like movement wise, than just have the optimal build and see you later.
And make it so that you can play however you want. Like this is kind of different game style, but same philosophy as like what we are hoping for. If you look at why Far Cry was so popular, it was because you could approach any stronghold from any direction with any weapon, with any vehicle, you could do it, and it was entirely possible. It wasn't like to beat this stronghold you had to have a bazooka. No, you could walk in there with a pistol, stealth kill everybody. You could fly down, crash into them. So the freedom to play how you want is what Diablo and Guild Wars 2.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, Guild Wars is better in the sense from, like, a gearing perspective because, like, any game that you play, there's always going to be, if you want to do damage, you're always going to optimize for crit chance and crit damage. Like, that's just a fundamental thing in gaming. You always are trying to optimize for that. But the real crutch of, like, resource management in Guild Wars 2 is the fact that there is no mana. Skills don't have a mana cost.
It's just cooldown.
There's all purely 100% cooldown. Now, let me lay out why I think that is really, really bad. One, it becomes like a balancing nightmare because the only tool that you have now to balance for that skill is to adjust the cooldown. And it literally becomes how fast can you press your buttons? It takes this it's a totally different mindset change. When I get to the better examples of like what I think great implementations are of management, I'll explain like how it separates you as a player from going from just spamming buttons to actually actively making decisions and then having those decisions like feel valuable and rewarding.
Feel like you're actually making important decisions on in the fight or in whatever.
And they're impactful and meaningful. And when you use those, they sort of matter.
I'm clicking all my buttons as fast as I can.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what Guild Wars 2 is. Guild Wars 2 is entirely a rotation-based combat system. How fast can you fly through your skills and actually see the damage numbers appear? I used to be a huge nerd, and I was a guild leader, and I did raid trainings, and I spent a lot of my time engaging with the community and trying to train and educate them on these in these fights and get them better and see what they were doing. I would actually have people submit me recordings of themselves because we would go to like this damage golem. They came out with this DPS golem in Guild Wars 2 that you could go and do damage to, and you could see what your DPS was over the course of a fight. And what was really cool is you could go and you could select it was really great DPS golem because you could select which buffs you wanted to have. You could select which buffs the target golem had, so you could have all your modifiers inactive. Like if you were in a raid, you could simulate a raid circumstance. Now, it was kind of funny because I was definitely a top tier Ellie in that game, Elementalist in that game.
Ellie,
Yeah, Ellie.
as we call him.
Ellie.
Ellie.
And I would have people like I would be training them in my guild. That was like the profession I was responsible for because I had put like 3K plus hours on just that character
Yeah.
and that profession. And I would have people submit stuff, and almost always they'd be like 20-30% less damage, and they'd be like, I don't understand why I'm not doing as much damage as I should be. And you watch back the film, and it becomes very obvious. It's super simple. They aren't clicking their skills fast enough.
Oh.
And the game sort of completely shifts from it's off cooldown, I press button. And you're just like forced into that versus making active good decisions
Yeah,
based
like
on what's
at
happening
this
in the
time I
fight.
need to drop this.
Yeah.
Instead of
This-
I drop everything.
Yeah, this skill it has iframes associated
Uh-huh.
with it. So I know that this ground pound attack that Gorseval is about to do is going to have a knockdown.
Yeah.
If I time it, if I wait 2 seconds on this skill and use this one instead, I can evade. Like,
Yeah.
it takes that away from it, and they just like, oh, I got to do optimal DPS. I'm pressing buttons as fast as I can. And it also becomes a little bit of a, in that game, and I don't like this in games at all, but animation canceling becomes a part of a thing. So, like, you would cast your Meteor Shower on Elementalist specifically, and you would want to cancel it. You would either want to take it all the way to the end. It was one of the only skills that rooted you, and you had to finish casting for it to like have full effect. But a bunch of people have done some research, and if you got like 95% of the full cast off, you could cancel that last 5% and shift into other stuff, and you would still get like essentially the full benefit.
Oh.
And so there was like all this science of like min-maxing little tiny
Yeah.
things. But then there would be like you would channel a skill with your frostbow, and then you would drop the frostbow, but you were in water attunement, and so like to get every single modifier to trigger. And it had profound difference. I mean, we're talking 20, 30, 40% DPS output.
Wow.
When you're talking about like a 10-minute engagement, the difference of doing 40,000 damage per second and 28,000 damage per second is immense. And that adds up a lot over time. And so what I didn't like is it took also there was no builds in that game from like I have certain skills pretty much. I said that might trigger a lot of people, but your skills were tied to what weapon you used. So if you were using a staff, you had a set skills that you had. You had some utility ones that did a variety of things, but your core damage skills were what weapon you were using. So it took people's eyes from an engagement from looking at your character to staring at your skill bar. And it made like the efficacy and like the education or skill level of the player base down a lot, which is really, really unfortunate. So it was entirely around recharge time, spamming those buttons off cooldown. How fast can you click? More damage, faster clicks. And that to me is really bad resource management because it lowers the skill set of your player base and takes tools away from them from making active good decisions. And that's why PvP in that game is such a nightmare because it's just a spam fest.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I mean, even Diablo, the little bit I played, I mean, I played quite a bit, but what I played, yeah, it did eventually turn to where I was just staring at my cooldowns.
Mhm.
And I was just, I was like, I need to watch these.
Yeah.
And not what's going on screen.
And you played Rogue, right? Or you played
everything.
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But your main was Rogue, right?
Druid.
Well, yeah, in the end, you played a lot of
Yeah.
Druid, right? So the couple of the builds at launch for that, like it was built around Pulverize,
Yeah.
right? And so that did require some resource, but there was other things like where it would turn into a shockwave. Basically, you could get Pulverized. I think you would regen if you one shot or if you killed an enemy when you use Pulverize and stuff. So by the end of the game, like you could, if you lined up your Pulverize, you basically could spam it.
Yeah.
And that to me is just not, it's not that fun. If that is an available option in a game to where you have infinite resource, balancing becomes almost impossible, right? Because now how do you have to balance that skill for that one build. Then you punish it so hard for that if you're not
Everybody
optimized
else
for that, you suffer, right? So there's just a couple, there's a bunch of things wrong with that. So I want to go move on to what I think.
Level up.
Yeah, we're gonna level up to neutral implementations now. And the example I brought up here is Destiny. In Destiny, you could have a build that generates like a lot of orbs of light, and these sort of recharge and trigger your abilities, right? But I think this is a neutral implementation because I like the idea of having the ability to influence, like it influences your playstyle.
Yeah.
So you want to play more aggressively because you want to do damage because that's how you generate orbs of light. But you also have to worry about your defensive abilities. So if you're playing a build or you're playing in a team setting, really this is where it shines. Like if you're doing a raid or group content and you're generating a ton of orbs of light, then your overall DPS, your overall survivability is benefiting because you're able to generate these things.
Yeah.
But I think that what makes it neutral for me and not great is that it is sort of arbitrary. I don't understand maybe the systems well enough to why certain orbs get generated at certain times. If it's if you did damage with a certain skill, or every 100th bullet that you put into somebody, an orb of light is generated. But it is a little bit arbitrary, and the cooldowns, again, it's not like once you generate all the orbs of light and you get your cooldowns back, you're still at the end of the day basically activating those cooldowns like once they're up. There are some ults that you have to use that are advantageous, but with a system like this where you're able to constantly like, okay, I've built around generating orbs of light, I can now recharge my skills like fast enough. You can now start to use your abilities with regularity, but then also you still have, like, it's not where you're spamming these so often that they still feel really high value when you use them.
Yeah, they still feel unique, and like a grenade feels like it's not like where you instantly throw it. No, you're like, this will
is
kill
powerful
stuff.
Yes.
I need to plan where to use it.
And I played a grenades build. I never had the unique or the legendary weapon that had the
exotic.
The exotic. Sorry, the exotic that actually supercharged this build. But I did use all the skills to have it, and the grenade builds, like if you were in air, there was a bunch of like triggering stuff. But if you were jumped in air and you got a kill with your grenades, like it recharged by 50% or something like that, and it was fun, and it felt like, oh, I got this, and it's super valuable to now have this.
Yeah.
And it totally transforms your playstyle in that game, and the skills feel valuable. You're not just spamming that off repeat.
Well, and I feel like especially what Destiny has done in their journey since Destiny 1, they've become better, right? Because it did used to be less customizable as far as like orbs of light and stuff like that. Like now you can really go in and do those aspects and spec into, okay, when I get an orb of light, I'm gonna get armor. I less cooldown stuff but more armor, so I can be up right in their faces. Or you can spec the other way, get more cooldown on abilities. And so I agree with you that I think it's a better implementation than like Diablo of like resource management, and there's more thought that's put into it, a lot more, especially in raids and stuff. Like you have
the whole team dynamic.
And it's like, okay, we need orbs of power here. When the boss comes, that way we can pop our ults and we can, and it's just a lot of thought
team
goes into
synergy.
it. Yeah.
Versus Diablo, I know it's not really meant for like a co-op game or something like that, but there really is. It's lacking that element of team synergy, or
it's like, oh, let's just waste our cooldowns on him all the time.
Just blow my load. Yeah, exactly. And because of that, the way that system works, that you have more attack vectors that you can then tweak. If you're Destiny, you're the Bungie, you can now adjust those. You have more tools to make adjustments to balance, right? Versus in ArenaNet with Guild Wars 2, you can only alter cooldown. There's nothing that you can make it more costly or anything like that. You can only alter cooldown and I guess cast speed or whatever, but you just have less tools. And if you just arbitrarily are making things like 5 seconds longer to recharge, that usually has like a negative impact on the audience. They're like, oh man, I don't get to use that as
and
much.
Then now Destiny's going in. I mean, armor mods, weapon mods are a big part of it now as well. So that gives them even more tools where it's like, oh, this armor mod is a little too powerful. Let's just tweak it down. But that not necessarily that whole class, just this specific armor mod, you
Yeah.
know?
So I think finally we're going to level up to the last level here, which is, I think, great implementations. And I actually came up with a pretty good list. So I'm going to start with my favorite game of all time,
Uncharted.
Guild Wars 1. Yeah, Uncharted. There you go. Guild Wars 1, which is fundamentally based on, oh my God, I'm just blanking on. It's the Magic the Gathering. It's based on that combat
is?
system. Yes. So the combat is based on those skills in that game, which is, if you talk to like people, OGs of Guild Wars 1, some consider it to be the greatest PvP game of all time, in terms of how its combat plays out. In reality, there's so much to love about that game. I could talk about it for hours, but I think that combat system is unrivaled for PvP settings, and they totally shit the bed with implementing those in Guild Wars 2. Anyway, regardless, I take it back. So I move on. I digress. League of Legends. I think League does this as good as anyone, and I could talk about that at length. World of Warcraft, of course. And I actually threw in their Souls games, which I'd like to talk about as well. You don't think of like resource as, in like a Souls game where you have like mana management. I know you have like with some of the older Souls games, you have like a magic bar and then you can recharge that and stuff. And so it's not really something that you have to manage.
You do have resource management. You have stamina.
That's what I was going to reference.
You have,
So stamina is an absolutely critical thing to manage in a Souls game. And it's probably the biggest differentiator between a pro player, like someone who like can just smack through bosses, and like your average player. Because your average player gets a lot of nervous rolls and they're sort of sloppy with it. They're wasting their stamina. And then when they stand back up, they have the energy to maybe get off one attack. When you watch a lot of the professional players, they don't waste a single roll. And when they're able to attack, they're able to get in 5, 6, 7, depending on what weapon they're using, of course, attacks. And so resource management in that game is so critical. And I like how they've tied all of the things together, right? Your attacks with your movement, with your sprint, with your rolls. It becomes, and it recharges very fast, but it becomes like this thing that you don't have to worry about 90% of the time. But if you screw up, if you get that heavy attack off and you don't have any stamina and you're trying to get your roll off and you can't, it's super punishing. And so it's often forgot that it's really a mechanic in the game, but it is absolutely one of the defining things in that game in terms of its combat gameplay system.
Exactly. And I mean, now I'm trying to further think on like what other games have resource management that's kind of hidden like that, because everything, if you truly think about everything in like Elden Ring or Souls games, is in essence some type of resource management, like weapon. So like I use the greatsword, right? I have to know when I'm going to swing it that it's slow. And so I have to manage, okay, now I can swing it and not punish myself by being, stuck in my animation and get hit. So like everything is.
Yeah.
So, and it's a great implementation of resource management because it has you thinking. And one of my favorite Souls games, Sekiro, that one you're managing, even though it's not different weapons or anything like that, you're managing your what was it, stagger bar?
Yeah, poise.
You're managing your poise and the enemies,
and
that becomes hugely important to the point of like you have to be aggressive. Like, yes, you're gonna take poise damage, but you have to make sure you do more.
Yeah, to get your crit hit off or whatever. You need to
and
do,
so I think that's a lot of fun to me when all those different systems are working together, and each move matters.
Absolutely.
It's not I spam all my attacks and I'll win. It's okay. If I mess up, I'm messed up.
Right. Yeah. And so using my example, I want to talk about League here, League of Legends, which I think is one of the best implementations out there. It's on par with all these games, but they all sort of carry the same flavor. In that game, mana management is almost more critical than managing your health.
Yeah.
Because you sit at relatively full health pretty much the whole game. But it's your abilities, because you're engaging in farming. You're trying to get the last hit on every single minion, which gives you gold. So you're trying to manage how can I clear things effectively, but not dip too low to where if because you could see it when you click on an enemy, you could see how much mana they have left.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes this entire tool, which I wish games gave us like poise bars. Like Guild Wars 2 had you have actually a break bar. So you could see when you're about to break them, when you can do like a heavy hit and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
I want to see more of that in games because it makes gamers more educated. It brings up that skill base instead of managing like. I know I'm way off topic now, but when you're like watching a pro run through of Elden Ring, let's say, those guys when they're speedrunning the game, they know like if I do 8 hits here, it's all scripted. If I do 8 hits here and I do a heavy attack here, it's gonna poise break the boss. Why can't I don't want to memorize the fight like that. Why can't I be able to judge like, oh my god, instead of healing, I'm gonna roll back into him and try to get off a quick hit because I can break him, you know? I want to have that information as a player, and I think it just makes the game play a lot better if we have that information.
Which is funny because I'm pretty sure Armored Core has a poise bar, and Sekiro does. So I wonder why they decided not to do it in Elden Ring. But those 2 other games, they're like,
yeah, I don't know. I really don't. And I know that subsequent breaks are more challenging, which makes sense. If you just went in there and poise broke them constantly, like that wouldn't be fun. But I think it's a tool that we should have as gamers access to. But anyway, getting back to League, it's absolutely decision maker. They might have full health, they might have all their cooldowns, but if they have no mana, they're a sitting duck. All they could do is auto attack you. And so it becomes this balancing thing, and you can almost read the players too. Like this is especially critical in like PvP games, and I typically like those more. So, but if you see like, oh, they've been chilling around, 50, 60% mana, and then all of a sudden they start blowing their load to farm and clear and stuff, you know that they're probably going to go back. So you can kind of gauge whether you want to go back or do you like and buy items or whatever. It becomes this entire mechanic that allows you to play it a different way. And it makes League of Legends, you only have like 4 or 5 abilities, maybe more now. I haven't played it in years, but you have like 4 or 5 core abilities with each champion. And each one feels so unique, so critical, so powerful and important to be able to use that you're not using it off cooldown, you're using it tactfully.
Yeah.
And it makes the whole thing feel so much more rewarding. Like I used to play Aurelia, and Aurelia had this awesome mechanic where you had this it was your Q, you could jump to the enemy, and when you jumped to the enemy and did damage, if you killed it with that strike, it instantly recharged and gave you back half your mana cost. That's what it was 10 years ago at this point now. But it was this super tactful skill that you could use. Yeah, you could spam it, but it was still something that you had to like leverage, and it felt so rewarding. And that whole class was designed around that skill. Every champion has 1 or 2 skills that are like that define that role. And everything feels so rewarding because there's that limiting factor. You can't just be absent-minded using it and then just, I'll be okay. It's like, no, if I don't have that on recharge and he dive attacks me, I'm at a huge loss here. But I also don't want to just not use it and save it because I need to keep up my clear with all my other mechanics. So it all is around game design and how it's implemented and stuff. But mana management, I think, in games like World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 1, is so critical to how that game... It added a whole layer of complexity because what happens in Diablo 4, which is my bad implementation of this, right? You pretty much have like a barrier shield up the whole time, and you never really take any damage, and you're just spamming through, smacking things up. And that's like the core. That's like the core of the fights. And in these other games, when you have like all your characters fully built out, and you've got the optimal, compilation of characters with you and stuff, so you're healthy, you got all this stuff going for you. Mana management becomes like the limiting factor. Because you can blast through stuff, yes, because you're optimally geared. But guess what? You have to still be considerate of how you're using your skills. You're not just spamming these things off cooldown. So it can be very restrictive arbitrarily, and games can abuse it and make it not rewarding. But a lot of times I find that this is like taking things away from gamers, and I think by design it could be implemented really, really well.
Yeah, and it takes freedom away, the freedom to play how you want. That's why Breath of the Wild's so popular and Tears of the Kingdom is because you can do whatever you want, and it gives you that freedom. And like you said, it also, by giving that freedom, you're giving yourself more tools to tweak and nerf and balance the game than just let's turn damage down.
Yeah. We're going to take 20% off the top right here.
Yeah. No, it's like, okay, well, let's maybe not allow, this specific one ability to do this specific thing.
Yeah. Well, that was 37 minutes of me ranting about resource management.
But I thought that was good.
I love these are the discussions that I love to have. Like that I love to have on these podcasts, and because it's not, oh, this game had this, and we're just, you could restating Wikipedia basically. Yeah. But it's like the games and how they're designed and why we like them. I love that discussion because it's, I don't know, it requires like some insight into what you were doing. I love engaging with this content like that.
So having that whole conversation, especially when we got to Souls, made me start to think about like what other games do we have that have resource management that we don't really know is resource management. And one of them that I think is probably the best from a difficulty perspective is Last of Us. So when you go to the hardest difficulty on Last of Us, there's nothing. Like, there's no ammo, there's like no healing, there's nothing, there's scraps to pick up, you can't craft anything. And I had so much, it was really stressful, yes, but I had so much fun playing that hard difficulty because it felt like you were in the apocalypse.
It's a different experience.
And everything mattered. Like, you knew, because I played through that game so many times, but you knew if you healed here, you were going to have to go through this next section. And if you got shot, you're out of luck. So it's like you wouldn't heal right away. You'd use all your full health bar. You wouldn't be like, okay, I'm barely hurt, I should heal up. No, it's like, I got half health, I'm fine for now. I need to save this. Mm-hmm. And then just it made you play the game different too. Like I remember I'd be a lot more stealth, obviously, because you die faster, but you got a lot more resourceful with like the bricks and the bottles. So you'd pick them up and they became like gold. You'd be like, yes, I finally have one. So you can throw them, distract enemies, or you could just, whack them with it. So it's really interesting to try and think about like your favorite games from that perspective of what is the resource management cycle.
Yeah. Because it's like a thing that they can arbitrarily restrict that adds a whole new dimension of gameplay.
And it's in every game.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to, it's not always the same, but you just have to really kind of consider what kind of game is it. And that, like Uncharted, it's ammo. That's your resource management and health, ammo and health. But
yeah. Anyway, I love talking about this stuff, and it's always a good time. So intermissions in movies.
Yes. So I wanted to bring this up because drum roll, I watched Fellowship.
My God, you finally joined the nerd crew. Good to see you. It's nice to meet you.
I only watched half though.
Oh, okay. So you haven't finally watched shit then.
But I got halfway through it, got to when they formed the Fellowship in what's the elven city they're in?
Oh, Rivendell?
Is it Rivendell?
Yeah.
I need to improve.
That's not a good look on you.
I know.
And you got to clean it up, okay?
But that
it's a very important city.
Very important. It's noted now.
Sanctuary.
I got it. That brought up a whole topic I wanted to talk about intermissions in movies. I've always been of the perspective that I'm okay with movies getting longer again, as long as we have intermission. And now I'm not saying like super long, but like you can push it out to like Lord of the Rings, like 4 or 5 hours, and I think I'd be okay. 5 hour, that'd be a lot. But I don't know, because it seems like for a while, when intermissions were a thing, like in the past, I don't know why they ended.
For me, like intermissions are incredibly immersion breaking. I
True,
love
yeah.
getting into like that sync. And what I would caution if we were to go back to that
Yeah.
model is obviously there's a massive incentive for movie studios, like or movie theaters, to have intermission because guess what happens when you pause the movie? You might go get a refill on your popcorn. You might go
Yeah.
get a drink, right? So they're going to generate a lot more money. But I don't want to see a fucking two-hour movie and it have an intermission.
Well, see, and that's that. It's a hard thing because it's like I want because the end goal for me is I want longer movies. I think sometimes us having to limit them down to the 2.5 hour, like what Zack Snyder's Justice League, what they cut. I mean, that was also studio decisions, but because they cut it down so much, it made it a worse movie, in my opinion. And like, just imagine if the studios had let the original runtime happen.
You know what's funny? Like, I almost wish theater movies launched different versions of the same movie.
Ooh.
Because I'll tell you right now, Oppenheimer,
Like at the same time.
Yes, Oppenheimer being 3 hours long was absolutely a barrier to entry for a couple people that I knew. It was like, hey, have you seen Oppenheimer? Oh no, that's that movie that's 3 hours long, and I'm like, geez, 3 hours? Like, have you seen Lord of the Rings? Because that's where I come from. Like, when I sit down with my wife, whatever, to do a Lord of the Rings marathon, it's like, hey, you ready to buckle the hell in? Strap up. We're going 14 hours here. That to me is not that foreign, but to normies,
They're like,
it's like, well, yeah, 3 hour movie. That's gonna hurt my Sunday. I'm not gonna be able to do that. I got to go work out, whatever the hell normal people do. So if you release different versions of the movie, let's say you had a theatrical version or you had the narrative version, I don't know. Obviously, that's problematic too.
Because it'd take more time and more money.
Yeah. But you also generate the ability to like see it, right? If you just saw the normal version of a movie and then all your friends were like, dude, you missed out on the theatrical. It totally solves this part of the whatever. Then they might go back and watch the theatrical one. I don't know how you solve this problem. I don't think, like, I would love to see more 3-4 hour movies.
Yeah.
That's just my liking.
That's the thing is, like, I want those longer movies. I don't necessarily want intermission, but you do need something when those longer movies, when like to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You need some type of break because otherwise you just end up having to miss a part of the movie.
Well, because they cut it out, right?
Yeah.
The studios are trying to reach some arbitrary point of 2 hours and 6 minutes. It can't
like
be
some
over that or whatever.
Study that most humans' attention span is.
They're operating off some kind of data set that says what people like. Sure. And so, but instead of you gave the Snyder example.
Yeah.
Instead of cutting that out, just release release your dream version as the director of like what your true creative vision was, but still do the work and effort to go through the regular release, and then maybe just execute on that. I don't know what the difficulty, like if that's super crazy difficult or legally it's kind of weird or whatever. I don't know, but to me it makes total sense to.
Have
you reward the fans,
an extended cut.
You have you reward the fans for, being able to fully get immersed into the story, get some of the side stuff that like Lord of the Rings. We're talking the difference between, I want to say, Two Towers. I think no joke is over an hour longer.
Wow.
On the extended edition than it is on the theater cut. I think it's like an hour and a half.
So an hour of cut content.
Yes. Which is crazy to think about. And now it's to the point where when I watch the movie, I can't watch the regular version.
Well, yeah, I was hearing that like there's essential parts that are just left out.
There's entire storylines that are like left out. And like beloved characters that are just dropped. It's kind of crazy. Anyway, I want to go see it. They do the local theater here every year does a re-release extended cut in theaters. They do 1 week at a time. So
we should
Fellowship of the Ring, I want to totally do it.
Is there an intermission involved?
No. Buckle in. What do you got? A small bladder? What is this? A weak weak boy bladder?
I'm just not drinking any soda.
No, just go. You're gonna be fully immersed when you get that audio experience and that song comes on from the Shire. Do, 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 do. Oh, take me away. But yeah, that's I don't want it because I could see it easily being abused if they implement intermission and it's like a 2 hour and 5 minute movie and they have like a 15-20 minute intermission. I'm sorry, I don't want to play that game.
Yeah.
I don't know how they solve this. Maybe theaters. Let's talk about this for a minute. Do you think theaters solve it? Like, this is going to come down to individual preference, right?
Uh-huh.
And do you think theaters? Okay, there's so many angles to this that I'm trying to like parse together. But do you think theaters become almost like a virtual reality setup at some point, where you go in, you sit in a pod that is so comfortable, catered, you could order food or whatever.
And
you take the headset off, you can pause it, take a piss, whatever, come back, and you get to experience that movie. Like, do you think that that's where theaters are eventually evolving towards? Or now I say that, and I know a major part of going to see a film is the audience aspect. Right? You're with a group, you're laughing at the jokes, you're cheering on when the Avengers finally stand up to Thanos. Like, you're part of that group experience.
Yeah.
And each theater has its like own identity. You go at launch night, you're with a bunch of nerds that are like, "Oh my god, that's person X." And you're like,
Thor's hammer is being picked up by Captain America.
That's from freaking episode 6 of the whatever, some random comic book number. You're part of that group experience, and I get that that's part of the appeal of the theater. But are we moving towards, if we start doing that, like an individualistic experience where you get to lay in this pod, it comes down, you essentially have an IMAX type vision, because they just change the aspect ratio, where you're sitting and they just match it, right? And then you have a state-of-the-art sound and you're in your own little bubble and you're enjoying it. Like, do you think we move to that model? Because then you get your intermission, and you don't piss off the people who don't want intermission.
And I don't think so, but that was definitely an idea that popped in my head. Of like private booths, like you said, like it closes in on you, blocks out sound from going outside of it, and you have like Dolby speakers right next to your head, and it's like amazing. But
or like 5-person movie theaters that you could just rent out, and you say, this is what movie, you pay $120.
To me, that idea sounds really cool, but also that there's something I enjoy so much about the movie theater and like going, and would it lose that? I guess that's tough.
Well, the world changes always, right?
Yeah.
So you always are losing something, but you're gaining flexibility. And if history has anything to say, people really value flexibility.
And like they could go wild with it. They could have like, oh, by the way, you can turn on subtitles. You can, they can make it so much more accessible.
Yeah. Dude, that's a great point. Or you go in there and it's like, what movie do you want to watch? And you can select not just the movies in theaters. You go select any of 1,000 movies.
Do you want to buy an additional 3 hours in the pod? And you just put in more money and you can watch another movie.
I don't know. Now we're talking. You know what I mean? Just I don't now. Yeah.
I like the idea, but then also part of me doesn't.
Yeah, because at that point, I don't imagine people. I think people go to see a movie to have that group experience. Because if you're just watching it in a pod, I don't think people are going to pay for that. Because they're just like, well, I'll buy the pod. How much is that? $10,000?
Yeah.
It can't be that much.
Well, yeah, and like I don't. When I go to the
people
movie
like
theater,
experiencing things in groups.
Yeah, I don't go. I haven't been to a movie by myself in a movie theater in a long time.
Yeah.
I usually go with people because I want to watch this movie with this person. Like, and usually the theater is just because it's not out yet, but it's like I want to watch it in person on the big screen here, and it's the big screen,
It's the audio. It's the full thing, right? And you go to the theater to see it in high quality. The visuals you can get at home. That's
Yeah.
we got 4K. Everybody has a 4K TV at this point. The audio is what you miss, and the no phone, put it away. The different, like, you just watch people watch movies at home. The difference of their attention spans varies greatly. Like when you're in a theater, well, unless you're an asshole, which there are people. Like you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
You're not. Oh, what I got a Twitter notification or X notification. I got to go check X.
Well, and like I'll be watching a movie and I'm like, I want ice cream, and I don't even pause the movie. I'll just go to the
Yeah.
fridge and I'm
Oh,
like,
great. Yeah. You know how many times I do it with like YouTube videos? Like, just looking for something to play audio while I go do 10 things. I don't know. I feel like I don't know what the market shifts into. I do think that theaters are better than what they have been. Like I feel like a couple years ago there was I went to a lot of movies and I was like, where is everybody? But I feel like they're in a better place now.
oh, definitely, especially with the luxury theaters, right?
I think people are willing to pay a lot more money for that experience.
And honestly, it's not. It's
'Cause
not.
I'll tell you, dinner and a movie is not fucking
Yeah.
cheap anymore. Oh my god.
It's not that much more expensive. Like then, I think that's why everybody was okay with it. Like going from Century Theater to now Galaxy, it wasn't like a huge price jump. It was like an okay price jump because you're like,
Yeah.
I get my own recliner.
Yeah.
And I only pay like,
And you can get like wine and beer
yeah,
and like
it's
upgraded.
like, okay, I'm okay with that price.
Yeah, for $20 for a 2-3 hour, like every movie's 2 hours these days anyway.
Yeah.
That's $10 an hour for entertainment. That's about as cheap as you can find for things that are going to entertain you.
I wanted to see, Kyle, are you still in the live chat? If so, what are your thoughts on this whole movie theater thing? Or anybody? We have 3 people in our viewer spot. What do you guys think about the whole movie debacle of, do we get a movie theater with private booths? And we just,
I feel like it's just gonna, if we go that route, it's just gonna turn into guys wanting to watch porn. I literally, that's exactly where my mind goes. Is okay. You could go and sit in a pod. You get high definition audio.
That already exists.
Exactly. I don't know. I don't know what it turns into. It'll be interesting to see what Kyle's listening. Yeah. Now the crowd is one of the parts I look forward to. That's what he says.
And
I agree with that.
I get it. And it's like, but then, okay. So Kyle, how would you feel about like intermissions?
We have a follow-up comment here from Jingle Bees here. Movie theaters are all about the group experience. I can order a pizza and watch a movie at home if I want to by myself. I think that group aspect is big. But, and now hear me out. Now you can, if you're watching the movie, it syncs with other pods in the nation.
Oh my God.
And there's a microphone. So if you cheer,
No.
it'll pump that audio.
No.
And you can have like a... You're
I'm
part
not
of a
on board with
virtual
this
audience.
one.
What do you think, Jingle Bees? Kyle says it's immersion breaking for sure, but it means we can enjoy longer films. I'm down. What was your follow-up question to Kyle?
I just asked, what does he think about intermission?
Oh yeah,
Intermission in specific. Oh,
it depends. How do they? I go to musicals, so I'm used to intermissions. I wouldn't mind as long as it's in a good spot. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think as long as, and that's the thing, is if you had a long movie and you knew there was an intermission, you could frame it, you could like write the story to where it's an okay part for an intermission.
So it wasn't a decision on behalf of the film, the theater itself.
Yeah.
It was a decision that is made by the director who can then build the movie into that.
Yeah, and say, okay, we'll have a winding down section that's perfect for intermission. I mean, it's basically a 2-part movie. You could say part 1 is Infinity War, part 2 is Endgame. And you just put them together. The intermission's right in between.
There you go. And then the people who don't like to watch 3-4 hour movies go see part 1, leave, and then just go watch part 2. Sign up for that.
I think that's how you do it. I think we solved it. We solved the world crisis
of intermission. I don't know. I really don't like the idea of intermission on the surface because I want to be fully sucked into a story. And anytime that that gets broken, like It's the idea of, if you're in a theater and you're in the middle of something interesting and then a phone goes off. It's like it rips you out of.
But if it's like a 5-hour movie,
so you really think that like studios are all of a sudden going to start creating 5-hour long?
no, I'm
movies?
just saying in this scenario, it's a
Okay.
5, like not just a regular 2.5 hour movie, but like it's a 5-hour movie.
I definitely would need an intermission
Yeah.
for a 5-hour movie. Well, this was my whole point when we've talked about this in the past, where I would love to see theaters stream new episodes. Like if you,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If like I'm really into
Disney Plus.
Yes,
Loki.
like I'm really into right now watching Foundation on Apple TV, and I enjoy that a lot. And I would pay $5 to go. I mean, it would have to be cheaper than a movie, but Kyle says if it's planned, the intermission ending on a cliffhanger might actually help with the anticipation. Yeah, I agree.
See, and that'd be like, I'm gonna go grab popcorn. I'm gonna come right back. Like,
But I would want. So what is it dead air then during intermission, and then when you come back, do you think they do like a 2-minute recap of what you just saw to remind you, or do you have like super interactive trip? Like, I don't know. How do they keep the audience engaged that doesn't have to have
doesn't
a
have to
small
leave?
tiny boy bladder?
I would say, in my opinion, as a tiny boy bladder, no. Well, they should just play music from the movie.
Ooh, have like an original intermission score.
Yeah, and then
That's literally what Kyle said. They could play music from the OST during the intermission.
look at that, Kyle.
You two are,
Same wavelength.
same wavelength.
But yeah, and then you could
Is
what
that
you
enough,
could do is when the movie starts again, you have it start a few minutes back. Just not too long, not to annoy you, not to be like, oh, I already saw this, but just enough to where it's like, this is where we were, this happened, and then.
What if you could order food before the movie to come during the second part? So then it was 5 minutes. The only thing that you needed to get up for was if you had to use the restroom. In the 5 minutes, you'd get swarmed by wait staff that would just bring you your stuff, and then they would bounce.
I think
And
we're
then
onto
you would
something.
just reload, and then bam. So you'd be like, okay, I'm going to get popcorn now, but I really would love an ice cream for for that last,
Major
2
D,
hours. Yeah.
ice cream.
I don't know. I definitely think there's something to long form anything.
Yeah.
Really, like binge watching TV shows is if you have the attention span for it, you can really fall in love with characters and really get sucked into a storyline.
Because of how long you're spending with them.
Correct. And they also are some of the most rewarding things because you notice so much stuff occurring during that time.
Yeah.
Like you're like, oh, that was a joke 3 episodes ago that they're referencing to there, and you never would have noticed that unless you binge watched or you had the best memory ever.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see, like right now we don't. What are like the mediums that we have? We have TV shows and movie.
Yeah.
I'd love to see something evolved from that, which I don't know what you call it, movie squared.
Video
That's
games.
just like a 6-hour bulk, saga. They play like a saga for you. I don't know what the hell. Maybe not saga or something, but epic or something. And it's this full, it took 10 years to. I mean, shit. Video games take 10 years to develop at this point.
Yeah.
Let's fucking have a movie take 10 years to develop. Might be interesting.
Avatar.
Actors might
too.
hate that. Yeah, well, that's for different reasons. But it might be interesting to have like I don't know. I feel like you get more bang for your buck too. As a movie studio, not really actually. Like when they filmed Lord of the Rings, they set everything up in one go, and then just bam bam filmed all 3 movies at the same time.
Uh-huh.
You could do that from a larger production, but the 6-hour film still ends up costing you the same amount of money. But maybe they find a way to charge more for that. Like, hey, you're gonna get 6 hours. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Is there enough of a market for this? I think there is.
I think there is. I mean, look, I'll point right back to Zack Snyder's Justice League. That was a huge thing, and it was like 4.5 hours long.
I feel like a lot of people sim to Zack Snyder though.
That's
like,
100% of the reason,
it's
or
so
90%.
like, I'm like, where did these people come from? Like, I don't know.
Snyder Bros.
So weird. It's so weird. Now, what's this new project?
Blood
this
Moon,
Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, they're just like, this has got to be the greatest thing ever. It's like, well, he was kicked out of Disney maybe for a reason. But.
He's a really good visionary director. Like the scenes he sets up look beautiful, but it's just
Incredibles 2, Jingleby says, it took 14 years to make. Is that true? I've never heard that in my life. 14 years.
I mean,
to make, but that's,
yeah.
again,
When did the original Incredibles come out?
Oh yeah, but were they actually doing work on 2 like after?
Probably.
Release? I don't know why they wouldn't be. Wasn't Incredibles like one of their top 5 gross?
Yeah.
At the time, might have even been their most profitable. Animated, Avatar animation aside, I'd love to see because would you like to see a 6-hour Incredibles movie? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe if it's good enough.
If it's good enough.
Yeah.
I'm not a big animation guy, so I don't know if I could speak to that, but I definitely would watch a 6-hour Toy Story.
That's animation.
I know, exactly. So if it's right for me, I would definitely do it. But I think there's so much. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's like I think the market it needs to evolve. I think it needs to evolve. We've been in this sort of stale medium for far too long. I think it's ready to evolve. They had an entire intro from the cast and animators apologizing for how long it took in the movie release. Did they really?
I don't think I went and saw it in theaters. Incredibles 2.
I'm gonna say something. I don't know if I ever actually watched Incredibles 2. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. I saw 1, definitely, in theaters.
That's where like the dad Bob, he's babysitting Jack.
Oh yeah, Jack is not in 1, but he's in
No, Jack he's in
Jack's
both,
1
but
and
like
2.
he takes care of Jack after Jack gets his powers, and he thinks it's gonna be really easy, but it's not. No, does that not ring a bell at all? Elastigirl, it's basically the first movie, but about Elastigirl.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and like the opening scene is they take down like a huge like terrorist worldly threat, right?
Yeah.
In downtown or something. Yeah, I did see it. It didn't.
Okay. Kyle said the 2018 satirical drama The Other Side of the Wind, directed, co-written, co-produced, and co-edited by none other than the legendary filmmaker Orson Welles. The film was eventually released after an amazing 48 years.
Let it cook. Let it ripen.
Let it cook.
My
wow.
God. See that? I don't want to see that. I want to see and I don't want this to turn into a Star Citizen. We'll deliver it, But to Dylan's point, when studios put arbitrary pressure on people or directors to cut down to a certain minute for whatever fucking reason, just release the different versions and allow your audience. I know that's problematic because then you're gonna have the fans that are like, that fucking ruined the movie for me, and then you're gonna have them like, oh,
and you're gonna have 2 different reviews. It's gonna be like the reviewer is gonna be like,
theatrical version, and
you should go see the theatrical version because the other one's a waste of time. And then somebody's gonna be like, you need to watch the extended cut because it's essential.
I don't know.
It's definitely a dilemma. I do see some movement towards longer movies. Well, with Oppenheimer, I just hope it continues. And because,
like I said, every recent movies is over 2 hours. I don't see a lot of 90-minute films anymore. I don't know why. Maybe that's a design. I don't know, but I don't see a lot of things sub 2 hours.
So yeah, we did not solve the dilemma of intermission in movies.
I don't know if it can be solved.
We just got more confused.
We have to let the market take place.
Let the free market decide.
Free market will decide.
We'll have our own individual sensory deprivation tanks where we watch movies.
Well, I mean, would you pay $25 to go sit in a pod and watch a movie?
No.
I know, right? It's weird. And why is it it would be objectively a better movie experience. You don't have light pollution or bullshit and you won't hear anybody. So it's from a just enjoyment perspective, but the audience is a part of the show. It's
Well,
so weird.
And to push it even further, like societally, it's a stigma to do that kind of stuff by yourself, right? Like, but it makes no sense. Like I went to a concert by myself, and it feels weird when you're thinking about it, and like you're going to do it. It's like, oh, I'm going by myself, but it's like, why wouldn't you? Like, you're not there to talk to your
Right.
friends. You're
It's
there to
not that
watch
weird.
a band play music,
Mm-hmm.
and then that's it. So it's like a societal stigma of like, why would you go to the movies alone? It's like, well, that makes sense. You
Yeah.
go because you're watching a movie. You're not there to, hey, you see this actor up here? No, you're there to watch it. So I don't.
Yeah, Kyle says long movies have never really gone away. It's just the short movies released directly to streaming now, which I totally agree with. When's the last time you went into the theater to watch a rom-com? It's definitely been a while, but when have we gotten a rom-com to release in the theater?
Yeah.
I feel like they have taken those away, and it's probably, again, studio analytics that they said, oh, we're seeing a decline, but if we release on Netflix, it's a lot more popular, I guess. I don't know. I also don't know how, Netflix pays for a film. Do they pay per stream, or they just buy the rights to a film for 6 months?
I have no clue.
What's the revenue generation machine look like? Obviously, they have it figured out, and it's profitable for both, but...
The last rom-com I saw was Last Christmas.
Daddy's Home 2, maybe, for me.
Is that a rom-com?
It's not a rom-com. Well, I mean, yeah, there's a romantic storyline, but it's basically a comedy. I don't... Again,
They don't.
those genre
Yeah, it's
lines
not.
are
Well, and it's
blurred.
not a big market. I mean, it is a big market, but it's not. For some reason, the theaters don't do them.
Only movies slated to get $1 billion released in theaters now.
Yeah, blockbusters.
Maverick, Top Gun.
That movie's so good.
So good. That was probably the last... Guardians was really good, too. I like that a lot. I don't know. So we've already seen the market shift in that in terms of what we see.
Yeah.
So now you only see I don't know.
Well, you see mega blockbusters, and you see superhero movies, action movies, comedies, and that's pretty much it.
I don't see a lot of new theaters being built these days. They're expensive. They're huge buildings.
They are
Because
huge
the
buildings.
screens have to be massive.
Yeah, but I think theaters are still always going to be busy.
Yeah.
Because you have movies are
I agree with that.
like societal events. I mean, I know it's just a movie, it's just a film, it's actors, but that's one thing where
Let's get in on the theater market.
yeah,
Kyle's bullish. He's ready to invest.
ready to invest.
Investors could be you.
Katie Ratio Theater coming to you soon. What do we call our theater? The
Katie Ratio Investment Advisors.
okay, that's our company.
studio. Then we fund projects.
we fund projects.
Only theaters though.
Only theaters. Will we have our own movie theater?
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
Why
have-
would we?
We'll have a K theater.
We'll do like what they do with
D theater?
super high end restaurants.
/
It'll be movies brought to you by the Katie Ratio. Like super high restaurants
Right
like
at the
highlight their
beginning,
chef. It'd be like, oh, the Katie Ratio presents.
And then we'll
movies.
play the podcast before the movie. Make them listen.
Yeah, this is their intermission.
Yeah.
An entire episode of the podcast. We talk about the first half of the movie. They have to,
Yeah, we talk about That's a good idea.
I really think this is good.
After the movie ends, you can stick around for a discussion.
Live commentary.
Live, not live.
Not live, no.
Pre-recorded because we get to watch the movie years in advance.
Kyle says, we only play the movies we like. That's a given. And it's all reenactments of actual good movies done by us.
Oh, okay. Yes. Have you ever seen the movie Please
You could be
Kind,
Aragorn.
Rewind?
Huh?
Have you ever seen the movies Please Be Kind, Rewind?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
With Jack Black?
Mhm.
We could do that.
We could totally do that.
Just remake movies with us.
I like that idea. Yeah, we'll just LARP. We'll LARP. You could be Aragorn.
Nice.
I'll be,
Legolas?
no, he's got great hair. I just can't pull that off.
Gimli?
I'm way too tall to be Gimli.
Frodo?
too much of a bitch?
You need to be Frodo.
I'm a Sam guy.
Samwise?
I'm a Sam guy. Are you? Hey, Sam or Frodo? Team Sam or Team Frodo? Let me know in the comments.
Who would be Gandalf? Kyle? Because he's tall.
Kyle would want to be Gandalf, which is why I wouldn't want to let him. I'd make him be I'd make him be the Balrog.
Samwise. Who's
Sam for sure. No, what would Kyle? Kyle would be Treebeard. Kyle would be Treebeard, the fucking talking giant tree. Because he's got the old soul for it. Right, Kyle?
No, he's got to be a part of the Fellowship.
He has to be a part of the Fellowship. I feel like Kyle could really nail some Sean Bean. Like, you know.
One does not
simply walk into Mordor.
He could. He could be Galadriel.
She's not a part of the Fellowship, but
True.
I don't know.
Who'd be Frodo?
No,
Kyle.
I don't think anybody wants to be Frodo. The thing with like Frodo, like that is okay. You want to get into this discussion? You haven't even seen the fucking movies yet.
I've vaguely remembered
this. Frodo bears a burden.
Yeah.
Okay, that burden is that ring, and it corrupts who he is. Which it's easy to love Sam, but he didn't have to bear that burden. So like you go to the end like, oh, he's the only one that got it done. But Frodo. Frodo was corrupt with it, but he had to be he was the carrier, right? And he suffered the consequences as such. But I don't know. I don't think anybody like aspire. It's one of the weird things because he's like the main character, and you would think like the protagonist people would want to aspire to that, but everybody like chooses Team Sam, mainly because I forget the actor's name. It's blanking me.
Rudy.
Yeah,
that's not
I
his
know.
name,
I know.
Sean
Astin. Yeah. Take a shot every time Frodo makes an orgasm face or noise. Yeah. I tried I have a drinking game. I have the rules printed out. We need to go see this. I was beyond fucked up 20 minutes into it. It was ridiculous. My wife and I were like, we have to actually chill because we might die.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was like every time Gandalf looks endearing to Frodo, or I don't know, it's just or every time
oh God, within
Gandalf
the first
yells at Pippin or Merry, and you're like, oh man, there's so many rules, and you're just like, fuck. Or every time they play the Shire music, so like it's crazy. But yeah, so it's the story is second to none, dude.
Well,
and the music.
Going back to Frodo, it's nobody wants to be him because he's like he's almost like Jesus. He takes carries the cross, or he takes a sacrifice to save the world.
Yeah. The courage of hobbits, though.
The courage, small people,
big world.
Little people, big world. TLC.
I've met that family. We're like
you met? Oh, that's right. You told me.
Yeah, we're tangentially like not
the roll-offs.
Yeah, not like yeah. I don't want to get into it, but yeah,
they sponsor the podcast.
No, they do not. But regardless, yeah, Frodo, Sam. I don't know. I'd probably play. I think Sam is an absolute rock star, but I don't know. I would definitely want to play Gandalf. He's awesome. But Gandalf also has this weird objective of not doing anything until the very fucking last second because he doesn't want to overstimulate Middle-earth.
What? Okay, who's your favorite character?
My favorite character?
Yeah.
Shit, dude. That's a tough question because it's so...
I'll ask the crowd, Kyle and Jinglebees as well.
My favorite character?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's yeah. Oh, Kyle, 100%. Why didn't I think of Aragorn for Kyle? Absolutely, that would be perfect. He kind of already looks like if he grew out his hair, he'd already kind of look
long
like
hair.
Him. Yeah.
Wait, so then who would I be?
And Aragorn broke his toe, famously kicking the helmet.
Kyle breaks bones
all the time. Investors, I think you. um, who's the best character?
Your favorite?
My favorite.
Yeah, not
character?
best, but your favorite.
Elrond. I fucking love the
Yeah?
elves in their story. I like elves pretty much in any game. I think they're such a cool. I'm literally him. Yeah. I think they're such a cool race, and the way that Tolkien sort of paints the elven race in his universe, I think is just it's perfect. Um, so I'm gonna have to go Elrond. I love. He doesn't have much screen time, but when you like break into his character history and stuff, it's really, 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 really cool. And now with like Rings of Power, the TV show, which I know is kind of controversial because if you're a fan of the books and stuff, maybe you're not a fan of it. But in the show, the actor Elrond, fucking sold. I was not sold based on just like his looks because I wanted it to be a little closer to the character for the movies, but he sold me like episode 1 on his acting. I was like, this guy is perfect for Elrond. Jinglebees, have you watched Rings of Power, the Amazon TV series?
Kyle, did he ever watch it?
He never did. No.
Still nothing, Kyle?
No, he's a little what we call a Frodo.
Ah, yeah. The Frodos.
Yeah. What did you think? What did you think of the Amazon show? I really enjoyed it. I never really got crazy into the books, and I tried reading the Silmarillion like 5 times. I can't get through it. I enjoyed the show for what it was worth. I feel like, yeah, Kyle's having a hard time bringing himself to it. I feel like The Hobbit does a really good job of also introducing, like I don't know if it's the universe, but the universe has a great ability to introduce a character for like 10 minutes, and then you fall in love with them.
Who in The
like
Hobbit?
In The Hobbit, you have the Dwarven King to the east, like Dwalin's cousin. I forget what the hell his name is. Might be. Oh, I don't know. Bale, something like that. Dale. No, maybe not Dale. That's the town. But I liked his bitch a bunch of times. The budget's so high, the dialogue is so bad. That's kind of actually my thoughts exactly. But the visual fidelity of the show is second to none. I've never seen a
Because Amazon was like money.
$1 billion per episode, $1 billion everywhere. Because budget constrained Game of Thrones. Like there was clear episodes that they weren't getting it, and then you would just jizz for 2 episodes in a row because they were like blow their load all over, those 2 episodes for visuals, and then go back to not. But with Rings of Power, you don't have to deal with anything. I love the actress that played Galadriel. Totally agree. I think a lot of people didn't like her representation of Galadriel because she was so stoic and hard.
Uh-huh.
You gotta remember, elves live for quite a long time.
Yeah, wasn't that
they're
like
immortal?
how many years ago? like
3,000.
Yeah,
like 2,500.
You're telling me
ago?
she never changed.
So she has this like story, and so you start to see that arc
of her
just
change.
within the show, and it's really endearing actually. So I like The Hobbit, but I felt it was stretched thin because the source material is a very short book. Absolutely.
I do, yeah. And as somebody who didn't read The Hobbit, The Hobbit's more fresh in my mind. I mean, I just watched Fellowship now, but like I watched The Hobbit when it came out. It did feel stretched, even as an outside observer.
Yeah, I've watched the extended cut versions of those as well, and I still enjoy the hell out of it. I love that universe. I love how they play on the orcs and Uruk-hai, and they have I don't think they're called Uruk-hai in Hobbit, but they have a special type of orc that can travel by sunlight. They also like gray out the clouds stuff to mimic some other stuff as well. So I don't know, they're really keen to. I just enjoy. I just enjoy that. Like, there's so much depth and richness to the world that you can even though that maybe like the source material for like the dialogue and stuff isn't all there from
Mhm.
Tolkien's beautifully written prose, you have so much to draw on from the world that he built that it can inspire so many different stories.
Hobbit should have been a 5-hour movie. Definitely, Kyle says. I agree.
The Hobbit, 1 5-hour movie
Yeah.
instead of
3,
9,
not, yeah.
3 hour, 3 hour. I remember seeing the Battle of the Five Armies in theaters launch night, which is the third movie in The Hobbit, and dude, I was so hyped. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was so good, especially when they're what do they call it? Oaken Shield? No, that's the Hobbit. What's the Pale Orc, something like that.
Oh, I know
The
who you're
White
talking
Orc
about,
or
yeah.
something. I forget his name. Like when they play those horns, like I love the horns in theaters. Thorin's death was lame, like floating through the water, and then he wakes up and they shanks him through the fucking ice. Like that's pretty lame.
Come on.
I don't know, but like that's the cool thing about having a really cool rich setting is
Well,
you can draw on so much inspiration to build a really
deep lore.
deep world. So yeah, maybe the story's not written by Tolkien, so it doesn't have the fan base, and so some of the dialogue rings hollow. I think that's what's happening with Rings of Power.
Rings of Power.
This isn't necessarily a story that's written with prose from Tolkien
yeah.
that is explicit. They're sort of inferring a lot of this, but the Azog, the Destroyer, Defiler. Azog the Defiler, I think, is his full name. Yeah. What did he defile? I actually don't know. Maybe something gross.
Legolas.
But
yeah,
fuck, man, I want to go watch Tolkien stuff now, man. Like, just
well, next month.
it's kind of you're right. It's kind of an intimidating thing to sit down and watch Lord of the Rings, though, because it's so much. Do I have a day that I could piss away? Yes.
See, but I really enjoyed it going in fresh, just because I wasn't intimidated by it because I felt like I was ready to just get sucked in, because I remember bits and pieces from like memes and stuff, like, oh man, when I saw in the very beginning when Gandalf shows up and he sees Frodo, and Frodo like does the laugh and he jumps in the cart.
And then
I just thought of the meme that we watched where he
So you're laughing.
Yeah. jumps in and he hits the cart.
You're like, that didn't happen?
Yeah, I was like, wait.
You know what's funny is the story between Keely and Tariel is one of, I think, the largest criticisms of that series. That people really did not enjoy, that shouldn't have had any place in the story. But again, I think, I don't know, I feel... He paused to show me. Of course he did.
Yes.
You don't fucking interrupt the story. Dude, you sit down, you don't interrupt the Lord of the Rings. How dare you? So were you on your phone the whole fucking
No.
time? All right, did you put it away after that?
I put it away.
Any more memes did you show out?
There might have been one more
Respect
meme.
this.
But it's only because you guys show me so many Lord of the Rings memes.
Dude, I'm
Like,
probably a cancer to watch the movie with. 'cause I know
The
so
other
much
one,
shit
as
about
soon as Samwise gets to the edge of the cornfield and he's like,
it. This is the longest.
and then every step he takes, he says that.
Did you have to pull that
No,
up?
I didn't pull it up,
Okay.
but
you mentioned it,
I
right?
paused the movie and I mentioned it.
So that's exactly why. And there's memes about this where when you're watching the movie and you bring up every single thing that you know about the movie, it's And we continue to pause it because you had questions. Oh, so you were engaged.
Yeah,
See, I don't mind questions. That movie, if you struggle, like my wife struggles with names, especially like with accents and something like that, and some of them have like English accents or whatever, Australian or whatever. She struggles with like tracing line. Okay, wait, who is that again? Oh, because sometimes they use the same letters. Like the worst one is Saruman and Sauron.
Sauron, yeah.
Holy shit, dude, that one's tough to like separate because you think, oh my god, that's the bad guy.
It's like,
we
no.
know him already, and it's like, oh wait, no, Saruman. Like, oh, well, he's probably gonna be bad. That's a pretty close. That's pretty close. So
And
like
he
I have
is.
to sort of kind of redraw those lines. But no joke, my wife's favorite movie is Lord of the Rings.
Which one?
So she sort of has a similar take. We view them as like one epic.
One epic. Because you were saying earlier, number 2 is your favorite.
2 is my favorite. I love so much the Helm's Deep fight. I think that's the best battle scene in the entire show. 3 for me is sort of the fight is still amazing, but it's ruined. It's not ruined, but brought down a little bit by the Ghost Army just like cleaning up shop at the end of the movie, because they just literally come in and like kill everything and it's saved, and it's like okay, like if they would have got there 5 minutes earlier, a lot of people wouldn't have died. I did have to shame him a bit since he hasn't seen it. Yeah, please do.
I get shamed all the time from you guys too, so.
Good thing Dylan didn't watch with us. We'd be hella mean to him every time he asked a question because we'd expect him to know it. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You guys would be mean.
I wouldn't be mean because I would be like wanting to show you. I would overload you. Be like, listen, page 6 of this book. Like I would just.
Do you know in this scene, he broke his toe?
Did you know when Sam ran out into the river to chase down Frodo, he stepped on a piece of glass and cut his foot open? They had to delay production for I'm like that stupid with silly ass knowledge. Yeah, Two Towers absolutely is my favorite. The Helm's Deep fight, because it's like there's like real scarcity there. There's I also think like the dynamic of how the orcs are fighting them is really like warfare bound, like it's realistic in how that siege takes place. The music, in my opinion, is the best. The fight in 3 definitely has epic fucking moments, but just 2, that Helm's Deep, the setting, it's so good, man, so good. My Wi-Fi's name is Routers of Rohan, but the soundtrack is so good. That's awesome, actually. I like that a lot. Yeah, and then and we would pause it at that point. Riders of Rohan, with the sheep meme.
God, you've ruined the movies for me. You guys know that, right? I'll be trying to take something serious, and then Riders of Rohan.
Yeah.
Pulls me out immediately.
Attack, bro.
Like, I'm sure when I see Sean Bean die, I'm gonna think of where he's dancing.
Yep. Yep. Or you're gonna hear him blow the horn of Gondor, and you're gonna think of the epic sax, man. Do, 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 do.
The charge of the Riders of Rohan in 3 can't be beat.
That, like I said, I think there's moments in 3 that are, I mean, goosebumps. When but that Helm's Deep is just that. 2 is so fucking good, man. It's so good. I love it so much. 1 is narrative building. There's really not like a big epic fight, but 2 and 3 have half the movie of a fucking siege, and it's real. Like there's really not CGI. It's fucking real makeup,
miniatures.
Obviously there's some shit that's not real, but
dragons not real.
Yeah, I know, Ryan. Can you believe it? Well, they're all good, but Return of the King was the first one I saw in theaters. So it has a special place in my heart. I don't know which one. I know I wasn't on the train early in Lord of the Rings. I was too young to see. Well, I wasn't. I mean, I would never go to a theater to see 3. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that would probably be the age that my parents were pretty strict with, like PG-13 and shit like that. I actually don't know what the rating is for. What is the rating, Kyle, for Lord of the Rings? Is it PG or PG-13?
I would imagine PG-13.
I saw all of them in theaters. I was 4. It is PG-13. My parents were pretty strict about that shit. So, like, I had to be like, are you 13 yet? Like, it was kind of wackadoo, but, so I don't think I actually really tried to sit down and get into it until I was in college, which is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to experience them for pretty much the first time.
Crank it up loud. Enjoy the music. Keep asking questions. I think you'll.
Pausing on memes.
I know there's undoubtedly so. It might not be your favorite movie of all time. That might always be Interstellar, and it just might be because
Yeah.
that impression. When you saw it. But I think there's no doubt in my mind that this genre and the way it's portrayed in film is going to be a movie that you thoroughly love.
Well, and I can already say from just what I've seen of the Fellowship so far, so like the first half, like it's gone against what I remembered and why I didn't watch it. Like because my small memory of it, like I barely remembered it at all, but I didn't remember anything. So I didn't really like have any memory to be like, "Oh man, I really want to watch it." It was just like and it was Frodo and, Gandalf but now going through it, I get the appeal. I'm feeling the charm. I'm allowed to immerse myself now. I don't think the age I watched it, I was able to immerse myself like I am right now.
Yeah, I really don't. If I watched it at Jigglebees was 4, Kyle was like 8 or 9. Like, I don't. I want to know at what level they appreciated it. Like, if it left such a lasting impression, or if it didn't.
When they were 4 years old. Wow.
Do you walk out of there at 4 and you go, "Holy shit"? I doubt it. One of my best friends, he went and saw it, and he thought he was going to see a chick flick. This is called The Rings. It was like,
oh my god.
Lord of the Rings. Like, oh shit, like I'm going to see a.
It's like Bachelorette.
Movie. Exactly. And then he saw it and it blew his nuts off. And so he's like, "This is the greatest shit of all time." So he was in that. So Kyle says it changed his life at 8.
At 8.
Okay. 8 years old, it changed his life. Yeah.
So Kyle, were you running around the house pretending to be Aragorn or Legolas?
Kyle did that before he saw the movie. Let's be real.
True. Well, I mean, like, because for me,
he went
that was Dragon Ball.
He dressed as like a Knight of the Templar for Halloween when he was a kid. No, for real, I was a dramatic kid when I played If You Want Him, Come and Claim. That's awesome. Yeah, okay, apparently, yeah, Kyle has a twisted memory. I feel like it's always, me against him and in a lot of this shit, but apparently I made fun of him, so.
You made fun of me? Wow.
I doubt that somehow, but I'm sure he's got eight examples that are somehow, I don't remember them, and yeah. If you want him, come and claim. I love that. I love that.
I just saw that scene for the second time. It was good. It's hype.
Yeah.
The water horses.
Mm-hmm. Nina, Nina, and Heenim. I don't know what she says, but then they come running down the. What I never understood about that scene is like they paused for a second. They were like,
it is, yeah. Well, okay, so
do we wait for her to attack?
She's
channeling. Now it's time to go.
Yeah, I thought that they couldn't cross the river because the whole time she was talking about.
Kyle said I spit on him.
Oh
it's just only for nerds for the Harry Potter. Then I spit on him. Yeah, sure. 8 years old, just spitting on kids.
You nerd.
Yeah, that's why I like my brother better when we were at that age.
Wow, you were a bit of a bully.
Yeah, I definitely was not.
It was your hair, huh?
Dude, I was.
It was made you mean.
Man. The hair, yeah, it was like an extension of my ego,
and
I just channeled it into bully rage. Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, I was the kid in a helmet and knee pads trying to skateboard, but failing epically. Yeah, no, it's definitely not a bully. I was a nerd. Total fuck. I was playing Guild Wars 1 I canceled summers because I was playing this game so much. So. I know, Kyle, you were kidding. See, nerd.
Nerd.
Yeah. I had a very I don't know.
What's the name for Lord of the Ring nerds?
Nerd of the Rings.
Nerd of the Rings?
Well, that's a YouTube channel. That's fucking fantastic.
But
Jingle Bees, if you haven't checked it out.
What's like, because you have like this like the Trekkies.
I don't Oh boy.
What's the Lord of the Rings?
Tolkienians?
Tolkienians?
I don't know. What is the fandom name for? I don't think it has anything to do with Lord of the Rings. I think it's Tolkien Society.
Well, that's the society that
I
is in
know.
charge of his estate, and
I don't know. Does they
a ringer?
Ringers, yeah.
Ringers.
I'm a ringer.
God, I get it, but I can't help but laugh at it.
I'm a part of the ringers. Oh God, it's so weird. Like
See?
Trekkies is kind of maybe it's normalized, but sounds like a sounds like a slur, not a fan.
It does. You ringer.
Are you part of the ring? Oh God, I couldn't even take myself.
We don't take kindly to ringers around here.
Hey, why is it gotta be from the South, man? Come on.
They're the people who use slurs.
They're welcome to change. Normally, I mean that's how their group would be described. I don't know. I think it's like the toll.
We have
It's
confirmation.
something with Tolkien.
It's ringers.
Gotta be careful with that one. Yep. Ringa.
Oh, what?
I gotta be careful. It's canceled before we even get started.
Every
Shit.
time I hear it, I think of You still need to watch this movie, Johnny Knoxville, The Ringer,
Oh God.
where he
I'm not a Johnny
infiltrates
Knoxville fan.
the Special Olympics for love.
I sincerely don't think I
Well,
can
actually,
watch
for
that
money,
movie.
and then he falls in love.
Oh man.
It's a great movie.
I'll take your word for it.
You're a ringer, though. It's like part of your initiation.
You know what? I'm gonna have to actually look this up. Like,
What the Tolkien fan base is called. If it's in the top 5,
Tolkienite,
Tolkienite.
Tolkien Dill, Tolkien fandom. How do you refer to yourself as a Tolkien fan?
Ringers right there.
Oh, they're not fucking around. It's actually Ringer. Kyle's being serious. It's actually a ringer. That's so lame. I'm sorry. I would never call myself a ringer. Especially considering that it's not... That limits Tolkien's work to just Lord of the Rings. I guess all of them have. Like, the Rings of Power, that's like a core theme in his universe.
Yeah, even in Hobbit.
Holy shit. I'm never referring to myself as a ringer. And I'm not Tolkien Dill. Or
Tolkienite.
a Tolkienite. That's the most approachable one. But nobody would know what the fuck you're talking about. I've watched a lot of content on Lord of the Rings, and I had no idea that Ringers was actually the fucking fan club.
See, now when you call me a weeb, I can throw it right back. I can say you ringer.
Please do. I would love for that attack vector of mine towards you to be returned because I feel guilty sometimes when I'm throwing that at you.
I'm gonna greet you with sup ringer.
Sup ringer?
Oh my god.
I literally can't take myself serious if I actually said that.
This is the fan base you chose.
Like, oh my god, you love Lord of the Rings? I'm a ringer too. Holy shit, I didn't know. What's up? Let me dap you up, man.
There's a ringer convention downtown. Do you want to go?
Why does it not work? Why does
Trekkie
Why
work?
does Trekkie work?
Yeah, and ringer just...
Well, because Trekkie, Star Trek, like, you say Trekkie and you talk to someone who's never seen Star Trek, they probably could figure out what the
Lord
fuck
of the
you're
Rings
talking
ringer.
about. Yeah, but... I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hobbits.
So you guys,
Hobbitses.
you called it out, ringer. Do you guys actually like that term of endearment for that group? You think that actually, like, is that something you could be proud of saying? Like, you put that on a resume.
It
Like,
could be Hobbitses.
Notable interests. I'm a ringer. That sounds like, yeah, hell no, right? Like, that sounds like you fucking fight for a living, like you're in MMA.
For
I'm
me,
a ringer.
It sounds more like sexual. Like some
it does?
type of weird, I'm a ringer.
I'm into rings.
Filthy little hobbitses. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, actually, that would be kind of cool because then definitely the public would not know what the fuck you're talking about, but it's so quirky and weird that it's acceptable. Like
Filthy
Ringer
little
is
hobbitses.
edgy and it's just not good.
I'm a ringer.
Yeah.
Wow. That is hilarious, though. Huh. What do Star Wars fans call themselves?
Oh God, I feel like I should know this.
Jedis?
The light or the dark.
Look it up. Let's see.
I guarantee
unless
you
our
Kyle's
chat.
spamming and is typing as
Kyle.
fast as he can. How fucking dare you not know this? It's fucking called X, and you can't believe you don't know this. It's so disgusting. I've never done an episode.
I can see why you'd spit on him.
You have to stop him. You know, you got to stop him in his track.
No, I meant I see your aggression
Yeah, I might
towards
just
him.
spit on him while I'm shouting at him.
They don't really have one, Kyle says.
Jar Jars. Oh, that's actually pretty. That's pretty decent.
We're the Jar Jars.
I'm a jarhead. No, I'm a Jar Jar guy. No, I don't know. It's not that great. Maybe it only works for Trekkie because it's kind of.
But see,
It's
the thing
there.
that's funny is that works
I'm a
really
Tolkien.
well.
I'm a Tolkien.
I'm a Tolkien. I'm a Tolkied.
I'm a Tolk keeper.
Tolkeeper.
Like I'm a keeper of the Tolkien.
Tolk
world.
ringer.
I'm a ringer of the Tolks. The tuk-tuks.
I'm a Baggins.
What are you saying at this point?
Baggins is. Why didn't they do Fellowship?
That's kind of actually
They had it.
on the nose right
Yeah.
there, and they didn't. Because that's already stolen by religion.
But I feel like, yeah.
I'm part of the fellowship. Oh, really? Which one do you go to?
The Fellowship of the Ring. The Ring.
Oh,
huh.
you're a dirty fellowship ringer.
You're a ringer, eh? I think for me, it's the R. It's the ER. Is what makes it silly.
Oh no, I think it's the whole context.
The
for
whole
me.
ringer.
It's just it sounds like you're a fighter, but when I picture a mid-30s Lord of the Rings fan, it's like a guy who's mildly out of shape, bald.
He's a ringer.
Oh, yeah.
You're a ringer.
I'm a ringer. My wife's a ringer.
See, it sounds like some type of like sex addiction or like drug addiction. We ring for fun. What's up, my ringer?
Yeah, it just is not. It's not where it needs to be.
No.
Smeagol's, maybe.
Smeagol's?
I don't know. What else? I mean,
Frodo's.
like what's like Rivendell? There's the Shire. You've got
Rohan.
like
The Riders
Oh,
of Rohan.
There you go. Or like Gondorians, Rohanians. I don't know.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Dylan, where can people find it? Or do you want to keep this going? I'm having fun.
Up to
I
you.
don't care.
We can.
What else? So you have. So what are like? So for me,
Uh-huh.
like your big glaring spot, like that you missed, is Lord of the Rings. Like in terms of your nerd background.
Yeah.
For me, like I have pretty much anything before like the 2000s that I missed, and I really struggle with going back to watch because if you look at like the sci-fi genre pre-2000s, it gets pretty fucking rough, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of CGI, and I really struggle with some of the like Terminator, the original one is pretty tough to go back and watch. You're just like,
What?
I don't know.
I thought that one looked great still because it's practical.
What do you mean it's practical?
Yeah. What part are you talking about that's CG?
Well, maybe I'm thinking of maybe not the original one then. I'm thinking of when they get later on.
When he's like the melted dude? You thinking that Terminator?
No.
Where he's like, and he goes.
I don't know.
Because that one was CG, but I think the original is practical.
Well, I think I think it has some to do with CG, but it also has to do with a lot of the like the '80s style art direction,
You're
of
not
like how they actually bring that film to life.
not an '80s fan.
Yeah, so like I have that glaring spot there, but then um, I also like just don't have like any anime background, and it's crazy. We've we've talked
one?
about this. What? Toy Story.
Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, yeah.
You watched it twice.
But that's again, that's newer. But like I see the like the world and how heavy people are, like how high people are on animated stuff.
Mhm.
Like we were talking about this. We go to the mall. It's fucking crazy how much animation shit that you can just buy it. Like it's like every 5 stores is some kind of
Anime or something.
weeb bullshit. Right?
Yeah, Ringer.
Like and it's just not. I've just always been that guy that doesn't really like. I like realistic stuff, and I don't really like a lot of the animation. I can't really get into it. So that's like a huge gap of mine in terms of my knowledge. And it's like growing because there's just all these crazy shows. So I don't know, what else are you feel like you're missing?
Game of Thrones, Walking Dead.
You never watched Walking Dead?
No, that's you guys. Kyle knows, I'm sure. But yeah, Game of Thrones. That's one I get teased about. But I don't know.
Game of Thrones.
After I was planning to watch it, but then as soon as I heard the reviews for like the last season, all my will to watch it was just like, nah.
Game of Thrones was one of those things that like you were on board or you weren't. And once that shit passed, I don't think anybody like I very rarely ever hear anybody like, "Oh, I watched Game of Thrones for the first time last year. So fucking good." Like I don't know. It's one of those shows. It's tough to binge. That first season, the first like 4 or 5 episodes, there's a lot of nothing that goes on, dude. And you're just like, what the fuck? It ends super exciting. Like, oh, their whole thing is we kill people in the show. And that was like, oh, and there's also titties. You know, like we kill people and there's titties. And it was like, all right.
Nice.
And everyone, our generation was like, fuck yeah, we could watch this with our parents. I can see boobs. This is so great. My parents are into it, but I'm really anyway, that's like half the guys that I knew in high school that were watching that shit. Actually, it came out when I was in college, but a little bit of both. But anyway, I just feel like once that ship sailed and they had wrote into history like what they wanted to do with that last season, it was not good. It was not good at all. You missed out on Supernatural, Kyle.
I did too. I didn't get the hype. Like some people love that show.
I still don't get the hype. But
did you watch it?
I've seen enough of it to know what it's about. I have friends who are like deeply in love with it. That shit went on for like 11 years. Yeah, definitely, it's huge.
What about like Buffy? I never got into that.
That was a what's the guy's name?
Joss Whedon.
Yeah, Joss Whedon.
Yep.
I'm a Firefly guy, but I never watched Buffy. Again, that's too old. Buffy was before Firefly, right?
Yeah.
So that was like early 90s. So can't have it, man.
X-Files.
I was just going to bring that up. Yeah. I missed that entire. We're just too old, or too young
for that.
That was definitely a show that was never going to be on with like my family. There was no way we were watching anything like that.
What about you, Kyle? What do you feel like you've missed out with, or Jingle Bees? What nerd background?
I feel like I'm missing out on stuff now because there's so much of everything. Like every person I talk to has a show that I have to watch.
But I feel like the ones we're bringing up are like
cultural
phenomenons, and versus like some of the stuff that people are watching now, it's not really on the same level as Game of Thrones or Walking Dead, or like those were big.
Is there even a show right now that rivals that, like Game of Thrones, like Stranger Things?
Maybe the first
couple seasons.
Yeah, not anymore. I don't think.
I've caught up. I've caught a lot. I don't know what that means. It's Supernatural. I just watched Star Wars during COVID
for the first time.
That's respectable. I think you could totally skip Star Wars. I don't think it's that damn good. If I'm being honest. I much prefer Star Trek. That's just my opinion.
Then I jumped in headfirst and binged Clone Wars, and I'm obsessed.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've seen them
feel
all,
bad
is
for
what
saying
I'm
what
saying.
I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, Star
Kyle's
Wars.
a guy that does his due diligence. If it's, oh, are we throwing shade?
I mean, do you really say that when we watch?
Say it.
Back when we were watching like Loki and stuff. Remember how long it took him to catch
But that's
up on
not a cultural phenomenon.
I
So like
guess.
he's gone
Just
back
cultural
and
phenomenon.
all the stuff that like you need to have seen, he's seen it for sure.
True, I guess.
But then he talks to us enough, and I just simp to Loki, and he's like, "Okay, I get it," because he reads the synopsis. He doesn't fucking care about spoilers, so he's unique. Okay, he's just like, well, I just want to know I don't want to be surprised. I want to know every single thing that fucking happens. Okay.
I would say, one I missed out on is Star Trek. I never they're doing all the new ones like the Next Generation or the one with Professor X from X-Men.
Yeah.
Was that was that the Next Generation or New Generation, or I don't remember, but like I never got into Star Trek. I never, besides the movies, the J.J. Abrams, that's my only like exposure.
I went back, I sat down, and I like charted out all the Star Trek that I wanted to watch. And I was like, okay, I'm going to watch it in this order. And I made it through, I think, 2 seasons of the original Star Trek. That's tough to get through, dude. That's a slog because it's so dated. We're talking 60s there. And it's not even the production quality. Actually, I don't mind a lot of the direction. It actually is much more of a serious tone. They don't have like a lot of the background music sort of just playing. But it's the added effects that have this weird like digital sound. Like everything is just like 8-bit audio.
Star Trek was Kyle's life. Can you confirm, Billy?
One of the few. Star Trek was not my life growing up.
No,
definitely not.
Kyle's. Did you spit at him for that one too?
I definitely spit on him for liking Star Trek. No, so Kyle,
Called him nerd.
I would say Kyle definitely likes both equally. Maybe not equally, but he likes them both a lot. I'd probably say I'm curious, Kyle. I would guess that you probably lean more to Star Wars, just because of your love of the games. I think you love that. If you gotta look at it holistically, not just the movies, but like if you take all of like Star Wars world concept, like content,
lore.
Games, lore, everything that's been made for it, I think on balance you like Star Wars more. That would be my guess.
Love the original series.
The
I think he's talking about Star Trek. Yeah.
Well, Star Wars never had unless he's talking about like the
original trilogy.
Or something. Yeah. Star Wars, I think I was a late bloomer too as well. I pirated the movies. I didn't say that out loud.
The police are outside right now.
That's the only chance I could ever watch them. And then I watched them and I was like, okay, these are okay. But
Kyle's, what's your answer though? Which one?
He said he does. I do in terms of I like Star Wars more.
Oh, okay.
But Star Trek's how his dad and him bonded. Yeah, I mean, so Jingle Bees, you're watching Clone Wars. That's the animated series, right? No, you're not talking about Clone Wars. What is that? What movie is that? 2?
That's number 2.
She's talking about
that's 2 in the prequels. Clone Wars is also the animated series that was first like hand drawn animation, and then it evolved into like a CG. Whew. Binged it all.
That's how many seasons of that were there? I'm trying to.
There was a lot because they brought it back too.
It.
I think Kyle watched it all too, I believe.
I don't think I finished it. I watched a little bit of it.
But it was aired out of order, so I needed a Reddit post to watch it.
What the fuck is with that? What did people suck in the 90s? Like, did not figure out how the fuck to? That's what happened. That's what plagued Firefly.
Yeah.
They aired the pilot week 2. They did episode 3 week 1. What the fuck are we talking? 7 seasons is a lot of Clone Wars. Yeah, I mean, I could complain about Firefly for days. Jingle Bees, did you ever watch Firefly? You seem to be into sci-fi shit. Firefly is goated in my mind.
It's so good.
Fringe as well. I like both. Those are my top two TV series. Firefly probably is good just because it ended so early.
Probably.
It probably would have became stupid if it kept going like a lot of shows do, but
I've heard a lot of good things about The Expanse.
Dude, okay, I keep seeing ads for that shit. I'm watching The Foundation right now, and I'm enjoying that, but Expanse is probably something I watch next.
They made a Telltale video game for it.
What do you think?
I didn't play it yet because I plan to like watch the show.
I love Firefly. You saw Firefly, right?
Yeah, and I watched the movie.
So good. I wish we could have gotten like 4 seasons of that. But it's way too late to relaunch now.
Yeah.
It would need to be its own thing.
Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, it only worked because of the time that it came out at. And, like, I don't think you could recreate it. But we had this whole discussion. I think we were playing, like, Destiny or something. And we were talking about
it?
Yeah, and me and Kyle were fine with them relaunching it.
With this original
with
cast.
the original cast. But you're like, no, I want new people.
It's too fucking late now. We're talking like 25 years old.
He could be older.
It's just I don't need no wrinkly ass. Book is dead in real life. Like he's not alive anymore.
Yeah, so he's dead in the show.
So he didn't make it.
Yeah.
I guess I need to watch The Expanse.
How many seasons is The Expanse?
I think this is 2, isn't it?
So set the story 25 years later. Yeah, see? Kyle's onto it right there. Problem solved. Ha.
Yeah, but like the whole thing was like they were ragtag new group. Like I literally am repeating myself at this point, but like then the whole Reaver thing would have been figured out because I was like brand new. Whoa. Like that whole thing, what would they just be at? At war at this point? The Expanse has 6 seasons? I thought this was season 2.
No, it's been going on for a while.
What the shit? And people are still hyped for it?
I mean, they just released a video game. So obviously.
Okay.
The Expanse is great, Kyle says. So Kyle has seen it.
I don't know. I'm watching Foundation. It's good. But only because of Lee Pace. The rest of the show is fucking kind of whack.
One show, so that's Apple TV, right?
Yeah.
One show I've been interested in is, I believe it's on Apple TV, Lovecraft Country.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Lovecraft Country, is that like a gay cowboy thing?
Oh my god. Do you know what Lovecraft is? Lovecraftian horror?
Like witchcraft stuff?
No. So
Where you make
Lovecraft
potions
is
and
like Cthulhu.
Oh, okay.
You know Cthulhu?
Yes.
Bird Box. Yeah, it's oh no, it's HBO Max. What is it? It is HBO Max. Oh. So I have, but
they said The Expanse is on Amazon though.
Jonathan Majors though. That's like,
oh, that's his baby.
That's
where
show.
he was born from.
Yeah. But it's like a cosmic horror film or TV series. Bloodborne. Why was Bloodborne brought up?
Because it's like Cthulhu.
Yes. There you go.
Do you have a ADHD?
No, just we got like 6 different conversations because Kyle responds. And then
It's called being a streamer. Okay, Dylan? You just have to know what we're talking about. No, I'm kidding.
See, look, he just responded just now.
Yeah, of course, because it's about 7 seconds late. Imagine when we have our chat just... And you got like people who are an hour behind.
That's
stream on YouTube.
That's what usually happens with our chat, right?
It does when I stream on my alt channel.
Yeah.
My OnlyFans.
Aha.
Those streams get a little wild.
A little spicy?
Yes. Yeah.
Why don't you bring your fans over here? What's the deal?
Because they're OnlyFans on that platform.
Oh, it's that OnlyFans.
Yes.
It's
yes.
often confused with the other
Keep up,
OnlyFans.
Dylan. Jesus, that's right. Kyle, I'll show you a nip slip later on, just for you, baby.
After you spit on him and call him nerd.
That's his kink. He knew what he wanted when he was 8.
That makes sense.
He wanted it. I'm so getting
When he was
canceled.
8 years old.
Yeah. It's a relationship that we've developed for years. If it makes it any better, I was 9. So.
I think the what is it? Like the love oh fuck. Romeo
Love.
and Juliet laws take place for you guys, so it's fine. It's not rapey or anything.
Well, I don't know if it's fine, but it's maybe legally not crazy. I don't know. But no, there was no everything was above the table.
Above the table.
Okay,
The
no
spit,
under the table.
the stomping.
I never spit on Kyle. Intentionally. I'm sure I'm talking to him. I've spit on him.
I don't know. I don't believe you.
Look at this. He's not even here and you agreeing with him.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
That's-
He just spins a web of bullshit.
That's how me and Kyle, we're on the same wavelength, okay?
Uh-huh. Yeah, sure.
Even when he's not here, he's here in my heart.
Oh, I that's coming through loud and clear.
Kyle, back me up.
He's telling you to keep up.
I know. Back me up, Kyle.
No. He's going to profess his deep, deep love for me.
He already professed it for me.
I was first.
Mine is recorded on Instagram forever.
I'm hella delayed, Kyle says. Oh, yeah.
See?
I support you, Dylan.
That's right,
Okay.
Kyle.
So
That's right.
maybe he did. All right, check the tape. All right, Dylan, where can people find us?
They can find us on Instagram, YouTube, any major podcast listening platform you listen to, such as Spotify or Podcast Addict, under KD Ratio Podcast. Come look us up, give us a follow, like, and leave a comment. We'd really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right, guys, with a good KD, you get the dub.
Bye, guys.